Hello everyone. This is the fourth part of the story, Avatar in DC Universe. Chapter 13, First Subskill Unlocked. Aiden's Point of View. My fist slammed into Mr. Twister and the momentum carried us off into the docks of the settlement near Mount Justice, the happy harbor town. Our trajectory spun us to the water. We skimmed above it, the water roiling behind us as I put my all into pushing him in. Mr. Twister regained control over his limbs and a huge tornado appeared under him, sending the water erupting up into a wave that headed for the docks. I looked over in concern that was quickly eased as I caught sight of Aqualad near the beach. The brief respite allowed Mr. Twister to fly further away from me. I will admit, child. You caught me off guard. Not anymore. The wind picked up as even the clouds above swirled over us. His limbs sparked with electric energy and a beam of lightning appeared from above and slammed onto me. A hand came up and my impromptu wind shield protected me, scattering the streaks of blue lightning to the sides. The shield held easily. I had access to air constructs now, perks of getting to master level no doubt. The shield was a pale green color. I enlarged it to cover my body as Twister's signature tornadoes besieged me from all sides. My bubble of wind held, swirling around not unlike the first time I went into the Avatar state. You love tornadoes, huh? Let's see how you like it standing on the receiving end. I told the android, my hands reached to the sides and forcefully took control of his tornadoes. Impossible. I combined them into one and sent it over to him. Improbable maybe, but not impossible. The tornado slammed onto a dozen more he created while flying back. All I did was incorporate his attacks into mine. He tried to fly away from the scene, but I unraveled the gigantic tornado and pulled it close to me. The wind roared as it jumped to follow my orders, sending water spraying all around me. The sea under me churned as I pointed my hand out to the android flying towards the settlement. Behind me, numerous pale green constructs of blades formed at my urging. My hand fell and the constructs shot forward at more than 300 miles per hour. They cut through the air leaving behind a hissing sound. The android was eviscerated. Slashes cut through his metallic shell and his body sparked as the limbs detached and fell off. He lost control of his flight and smashed onto a warehouse. I pushed my hands to the side and the air and water calmed down. I flew forward and instantly found myself feeling the sensation of free movement in the air. The others were gathering at the place where the android had crashed, so I leaned my body forward and shot off towards them. I laughed in glee as I saw my reflection on the water. I touched the water, doing twists and turns, and all too soon found myself arriving next to the team. Hey guys! I can fly now. I told them in excitement. Robin snickered. Yeah, we saw that. Though for a minute there you looked like a fish out of water. Robin said, referring to my inexperience with flying. I did the immature thing and stuck out my tongue at him. He laughed while approaching the limbless android who was sparking. Man, that was so cool. Wally told me while patting me on the shoulder. You did a great job, Maelstrom. Aqualad added with the same soft smile we knew him for. Miss Martian was the most excited. I am so happy. I have so much to teach you, now that I'm not the only one who can fly anymore. She flew over and hugged me. I patted her back awkwardly. Damn, Gan was strong. Over her shoulder, I saw Superboy's face, and instead of the jealousy I was expecting, he had a small smile on his face. He noticed me and held up a thumbs up. A little of the tension inside me eased out and I felt a genuine happiness. I wish I could thank my past self for deciding to talk to Superman. Guys, you need to see this. Wally called us over and we all approached just as a slim middle-aged man stumbled out of the remains of the wrecked android. Foul, I call foul. Gan. I told her. Got it. A huge rock rose up and smashed onto the android. Wait. No. The protests from the rest were ignored in favor of turning the android into pieces of metal. Wait. I held up a hand to stop Robin's aggressive statements. Look. Miss Martian lifted the rock telekinetically, revealing the broken metal plates and parts of the android. Oh. Wally muttered. Nice. We couldn't risk letting him get close to us. He might have had a contingency plan to blow himself up in our vicinity. How did you know? Robin fell back on his detective side. I asked Miss Martian to read his mind telepathically while we were fighting him, but she couldn't. The only way that is possible is if Mr. Twister was inorganic. Miss Martian supplied. Right. But the simple answer? You guys didn't see it, but his left foot was sparking due to damage. Last time I checked, a person bleeds with an injury like that. Superboy noticed the red light from one of the android's eyes and stomped on it. I'm hungry, he stated and left for Miss Martian's ship that had just arrived. Wally flashed over to Mgan's side while Aqualad left to stand a bit further from the rest of us. He brought a hand to his earpiece and gave Red Tornado status update on the mission. Hey beautiful. What do you say we go and make more of those awesome cookies? Wally said while winking. Robin laughed. We? You're going to be eating more than baking. Dude. Come on. Aqualad and I watched their teasing and chuckled. Once we were all in the ship, Mgan took us back to the cave. Batman found time out of his schedule to come to the debrief. He had us go over everything for 1 full hour before letting us leave. I stayed behind after the others had left to go have some cookies to talk the Dark Knight. Your abilities increased, he commented, reviewing the report we had made on the android. The League had gathered up its parts and I was sure Batman would look closely into the perpetrator behind the whole thing. I remembered something. There were other androids apart from Red Tornado in one continuation. He looked up from the data pad and narrowed his eyes. That's not in the information you gave me. I shrugged. I guess I forgot. There are many timelines and alternate realities. It's confusing at times and some details are forgotten. I see. You'll write up a report on all you can remember. Now, what do you need? He went right back to the pad and I was silent as I mulled over what I wanted to ask. I clenched my jaw. I was thinking of introducing some of the stuff from my world on this earth. Batman looked up. Explain. I pulled up a chair and rested my hands on the table. You know, things like music and books. The glare came back again. Number. I knew this was gonna be hard, but I couldn't do it alone while also being a hero. I needed Batman's, or rather Bruce Wayne's help. Look, I know your reasoning behind saying no. I stopped to judge his reaction and continued when I saw he was listening. You think that I might mess up and disclose something that I shouldn't. Which is understandable, given my situation. My fingers started tapping on the table, a nervous tic I've always had. That can be solved by vetting everything before I release it. You're avoiding the main reason. Batman's gruff voice answered. His white eyes speared through my own and I felt like there was nothing I could hide. The tapping increased. Okay, I sighed. You also think that the chances of other fictional worlds existing is highly probable due to this planet being real here yet just a story back in my home dimension. You're worried that someone from another dimension might travel here by whatever fluke and come across a spoiler on their life. MMH, he grunted, making me shake my head. DC doesn't do crossovers except maybe with Marvel. And this discussion is over Maelstrom. I got up a little angry. I knew Batman was stubborn, but come on. Alright, I get the point about the books and whatnot. But what about music? I think he might have cocked an eyebrow at me. I just want to do something I'm good at. Being a superhero is a noble use for my abilities, but I feel like it's still not enough for me. My uncle owned a recording studio and I have grown up with music surrounding me. The Dark Knight was silent for a while. I will think about it. Was that the best I could get out of him? Yes. Did I get the hint to leave it at that? Yes. Did I follow it? Number. Look, Batman, I know you're concerned about a whole lot more than some teenager from another dimension asking you to let him do something he loves, but there's nothing to think about. This is something I am not willing to back down on or make concessions about. I just thought I should inform you out of respect. Have a nice day, sir. I turned and left the room, trying and failing to calm down my shaking hand. That was very nerve-wracking. Somehow standing up to Gotham's protector was much more scary than fighting Blockbuster and Mr. Twister combined. I had meant every word I said to him. I loved music, and now that I was in another world I wanted to bring some of my favorite songs to life. Especially considering that this world didn't have Chris Brown, Drake, or any of the well-known stars. I won't lie, I was excited to be the pioneer of a different kind of hip-hop, trap, R&B, you name it. The shit I had was going to leave the whole world shook. Too bad Batman said no to me writing some of the bestsellers from my world. You know what? What if I use a pen name? Not only that, but I could think of a few light novels I could discreetly upload online. Then when I have already established myself, bam! I come up with Harry Potter. For this plan to work, the telepathic lessons were a must now. I needed to remember the books clearer. The whole team was at the kitchen, but I didn't feel like talking to anyone just yet. I wanted to freshen up first. Martian Manhunter was coming for the telepathic lessons I had asked for. Mgan had been showing me some exercises on how I could increase focus by getting rid of distractions. The lessons were good and really informative. But I also found them a bit lacking. Mgan refused to challenge me. She didn't want to hurt me by taking it too far, so Manhunter was my only chance at not being babied. I had my shower and sat down on the bed after remembering to check out my status. The first sub-skill was unlocked. I wondered what the next one was going to be. Air Element, Master. Flight. Unlocked. Locked. Chapter 14, Santa Prisca. Aiden's point of view. I held the guitar firmly in my hands and began plucking the strings. It had taken a while to get used to my new strength, but I could now play again. Well, come on Aiden, we're waiting. Mgan urged me, while Wally was shoving the cookies that Mgan had taken to making whenever we were all around, in his mouth. Yeah, I could be beating your record now. Robin intoned while smiling behind his glasses. I rolled my eyes. Patience guys. I believe he is about to start. Thank you Calder, I pray you live a full life. I cleared my throat and fidgeted in my seat. I was nervous. I hadn't played ever since I had come to this dimension. Not seriously like now, or in front of the whole team or any other audience for that matter. It had been 3 days since the fight with Twister and we were all back to a 100%. I had decided against playing him for the weekend by Coldplay to them, which is what I really wanted to do. To start off, I needed something catchy yet simple. The melody to Pink Sweats at My Worst started playing and everyone became entranced. I had always had a lyrical tenor, great for singing, but I had trouble controlling my breathing. Funnily enough, after the Blockbuster formula, that problem disappeared. Can I call you baby? Can you be my friend? Can you be my lover up until the very end? Let me show you love, oh, no pretend. Stick by my side even when the world is caving in, yeah. Oh, don't you worry. I'll be there whenever you want me. I need somebody who can love me at my worst. No, I'm not perfect, but I hope you see my worth. 'Cause it's only you, nobody knew, I put you first. And for you, girl, I swear I'd do the worst. I put in all my emotions, my fear at finding myself in a fictional world, missing my family so damn much, breaking up with my girlfriend just before I left my world, my hope that things would turn out okay, and happiness that despite it all, I had managed to make friends and find a place to belong. I quickly wiped a tear discreetly after I finished up the song and looked around. Everyone had open mouths. Guys? I said, knocking them out of their stupor. Wow, I didn't know you could sing like that. Mgan said while blushing. Yeah, that was actually pretty good. Robin added. Didn't expect that at all, Wally said, and then went back to stealing cookies from Aqualad's plate. I liked it, Superboy told me while smiling. They're all right. That was very good. You have an amazing gift, Aiden. I hate being praised, and that's because I don't know how to react to it. I nodded and looked away while laughing. Thanks, guys. Wally super sped to my side. So, Aiden, what do you think about forming a band? You can sing and I can play. We can call ourselves the Huh. You can play? Don't crack jokes like that, Wally. Robin snickered. Dude. I can totally play. I just need a few lessons and bam, drummer extraordinaire at your service. No one looked convinced. I decided to spare Wally the grim reality of how hard learning music was and patted his shoulder. I'll think about it. Batman to team. Everyone gather at the hall. We rose up and left for the briefing on our first official mission. To investigate Santa Prisca. I didn't recall this mission clearly. And the lessons with Martian Manhunter were focused more on concealing my memories more securely. I knew the mission with Simon was just around the corner, so I had to forego the exercises to better recall my memories for hiding them away better. The mission was pretty straightforward. It was to covertly investigate the reason why the Venom Neo steroid shipment supply lines were stalled while the factory seemed to be operating normally. Batman probably thought that the supply lines had been changed, but he wanted to make sure before jumping to conclusions. So who is the leader? Robin asked when Batman was finished with the brief. The Dark Knight and Red Tornado looked at each other and seemed to come to a conclusion. We will let you decide that amongst yourselves. Oh boy. I was strapped on my seat inside Miss Martian's bioship. My breath came out slow and long, a tactic to center myself for better focus. It was one of the exercises that Martian Manhunter had taught to me. You breath in and hold your breath for 10 seconds, then you breath out and stay like that for 10 seconds before inhaling again. The cycle slows down your heart rate, ABD calms the mind. We are arriving near the island. I'm putting the bioship in camouflage mode. Mgen informed us. 5 seconds later, I opened my eyes when she added. Approaching drop zone A in 20. Aqualad got up and pressed on his belt buckle. The normally red upper section of his suit turned gray. These were the new suits given to us by Batman for covert missions. Mgen brought the bioship low, near the water. A section on the floor of the bioship opened up and Aqualad jumped through it. His mission was to swim and covertly approach the beach to take out the motion and heat sensors. He radioed in and informed us the detectors were down. Approaching drop zone B. Mgen controlled the ship, once on the island, to drop us off a distance away from the beach. Wally pressed his belt buckle and his suit turned gray, not unlike Aqualad. Miss Martian simply morphed her costume into something more inconspicuous. Luckily my own suit was predominantly black. Superboy, on the other hand, preferred to go as he was. To quote him, no capes or tights. Robin was a stealth master, it didn't matter if he was dressed like a rainbow or not. Inform me when you land so that we can regroup. Aqualad said. Roger that. Robin answered. Boy Wonder and Wally used a rope to land while I merely floated down, carried by the air. I landed softly as Superboy jumped from the ship. The air under my control slowed him down before he could smash onto the ground. I didn't need your help, he whispered harshly. It's a covert mission. Had you landed, the loud sound would have risked us getting found out. I whispered back and he shrugged. Whatever. Superboy grumbled, disappointed that he hadn't made a crater under him. Hey Roby, I hate it when he does that, Kid Flash stated, referencing Robin's disappearance. I'll go on ahead and scout. He then did the same thing as Robin and disappeared into the jungle. Do you think he sees the irony? Superboy asked while we followed after Kid Flash. Nope. Not even if it slapped him in the face. Our feet were as silent as could be. I wasn't experienced enough to fly in such thick foliage. Man, fiction makes it seem easy to fly, but in reality it's like learning how to swim. It takes time to learn all the fancy moves and increase speed in the water. To avoid detection, I decided to stick to running. Mgan floated above us, invisible. We came up on Kid Flash hiding behind a few rocks looking out at a beaten path. His goggles were on and he pointed to his front. "There's a group making their way here," he whispered. "Two actually. There's another one with guns coming from the other side." Superboy corrected him. "Are they together?" Miss Martian asked. "Let me go and find out. It will only take a second," Kid Flash announced and blitzed, leaving behind afterimages and protests from the rest of us. "We seriously need a leader," I muttered in exasperation. Our resident speedster slipped and fell between the two groups as they began opening fire against each other. "Well, the stealth part is useless now," Superboy stated and jumped into the fight. I brought a hand to the earpiece I had on. "Maelstrom to Aqualad, do you copy? Send over. We are currently engaging two opposing groups. Follow the sound of gunshots to our position." Out. Mgan had moved ahead and was throwing around Cobra goons like they weighed nothing. A few birdarangs fell between the men on the other group and exploded, sending the men flying away. A second later, Boy Wonder was on the scene incapacitating goons left and right, next to Kid Flash. "What happened to being stealthy? Remember covert? Why didn't you follow my lead and vanish into the jungle?" he asked in annoyance. "You didn't tell us anything. We are not mind readers, you know." Kid Flash shot back and I agreed. I sailed over both of them and kicked out. A huge gale sent the goons flying away in shouts of surprise and pain. "He's right, Robin. Remember, most of us are still very inexperienced," I told him. A hail of fire cut off what he was going to say next and we took cover behind a tree. Robin threw out smoke bombs that obscured the surroundings. Kid Flash ran out and took care of 3 of them while I used the cover to pull up on the rest. One Cobra goon stumbled back as I came out of the smoke suddenly. He rounded up his gun to shoot, but I ducked the fire, my fists came up and I threw a few jabs on his armpits. His hands slumped, unresponsive. My palm instantly shot out and a blast of wind landed on his torso, throwing him to his partner. "Motherfucker!" One of the 2 left shouted and shot at me. I flew up, escaping the bullets, and a tornado appeared before me, sweeping through the 2 of them and slamming them onto a tree. I floated down as the gunfire died down finally. Aqualad had regrouped up with the rest and I flew forward to join them. Everyone was gathered surrounding the tied-up men. "Who's the wrestler?" I asked them, pointing to a middle-aged man in face paint. "Bane, no doubt." Chapter 15, Cobra Venom. Aiden's point of view. It all makes sense now. These hood-wearing guys are part of Cobra, Robin said, referring to some of the men we had tied up. "Well, share it with the rest of us," Wally told him impatiently. "I'm thinking that Cobra came in and hijacked the factory from these other guys. That's why the factory is still operating normally but the supply lines have been cut off. So what are they making? More Cobra? Or something else?" Aqualad's question made the Boy Wonder rub his chin. "That's what I need to find out." "You need to find out? We're a team, Rob. You're making it seem as if you're the leader." Wally protested heavily. "I am the one with the most experience. Dude, you're just a 13-year-old kid." "Wow. I hadn't known Robin was that young. When did Batman even start training him?" "Ah. And you're a mature 15? Now is not the time, guys. We need to stay on track." Aqualad broke the argument apart, leaving one teenager frustrated while the younger one was smugly smiling. "Ha ha ha, such clever minus." Bane laughed. "Perhaps I can be of assistance? It is my factory after all." I turned to look at Mgan and nodded imperceptibly towards Bane. Realization dawned on her and she nodded back. I walked closer to Bane and crouched before him. And why should we trust you? I asked him, making him chuckle. Because I am your only chance to get into the factory undetected. I looked at him skeptically. You know of a secret entrance? Yes, and I propose we work together. As the saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I nodded and got up. Did you get it, Miss Martian? I inquired, walking away from Bane. It wasn't easy, but I was able to see where the secret entrance is. Robin gave her a thumbs up as everyone else looked confused. I asked her to read his mind, then started asking pointed questions to make it easier for her. That's good foresight, Maelstrom. Aqualad praised, making me shrug. She did everything. You tricked me? That is very smart, but you still do not know the layout of the factory on the inside. You need me. Not really. Get me to the control room and I'll have access to everything. Robin crushed Bane's last hope. Hell yeah. Let's do this. Kid Flash said, putting on his goggles. Wait. I think we should inform the League first. The mission was to investigate covertly. The situation has changed drastically from the mission parameters. I held up a hand and suggested. Number. Not yet. We still need to investigate and gather some concrete intel to present to the League. Having them intervene on our mission is the same thing as saying we're not ready. Robin spoke up. I looked at everyone's faces and saw determination. A smile worked its way onto my face. Just making sure we're on the same page. Something tells me, this mission will not be easy. Okay. What's the plan? Wally asked. They all turned to look at me. What? You can't be serious. You took charge during the Mr. Twister fiasco. Wally shrugged, making the others nod. I looked at Robin. And you're okay with this? Number. Not in the slightest. But I want to hear you out first. Besides, us following your plan doesn't automatically make you the leader. Just the guy with the plan. He smirked in that infuriating way. I sighed. All right. So I'm thinking we keep it simple. First of all, Gan, did you get any other information from El Lucador's mind? Robin snickered while Bane ground his teeth. I think the name disturbs him. Wonder what he needs to do to be turbed. No one gets it, bro. Wally's words made Robin scoff. The buyer is arriving tonight. That is the reason why she pointed at Bane, was trying to regain control of his factory. I smiled at the others. Gan, connect our minds. She nodded after getting a nod of consent from everyone, and inside my mind, I felt an alien sensation. I didn't want to risk anyone hearing the plan. I stopped to study their faces. Seeing the looks of concentration, I continued. So here it goes, we use the secret entrance to go in. Robin accesses the control room to find out as much as he can about what they're making, who's funding them, and who the buyer is. The rest of us will remain in position, hiding. Once we have gathered enough evidence to present to Batman, we'll take out the lights and deal with the underlings first. Then, as a whole, we'll attack Cobra and his circle as a team. He must be packing some real firepower if he managed to force Bane out of his factory. Before the buyer arrives, the factory needs to be under our control. We have roughly half an hour based on the information stolen from Bane's mind. Any objections? There were none. Things are bad. Cobra managed to combine Venom with Blockbuster. The result is 3 times as strong as Venom and Permanent. Robin informed us through the link. So just as we thought, Cobra is no doubt working with someone else with the know-how to combine the 2 formulas together. I doubt they can do that by themselves. Kid Flash added. Have you found out anything about the mysterious buyer? Nothing. Robin answered Aqualad's question. Okay guys. We have learned what we can. It's time we took these guys down. Kid, get ready. Take away all their guns and knock them out once the light goes off. Use your goggles. Again, bind them together using the zip ties Robin gave you. Superboy distract the big guy while Aqualad knocks him down. I doubt he can resist a high enough charge. Robin and I will take down Cobra and the girl. I reminded them the plan. Roger. Cool. Let's do this. I'm ready. MNH. I aimed for the lights and tiny wind bullets shot off from my fingers. The light bulbs above shattered and the whole factory was plunged into darkness. Instantly, guns started firing wildly as the Cobra goons were taken out by Kid Flash. Luckily, all of us could fight in the dark. Superboy, Gan and Aqualad because of their unique biology, the rest of us because of the thermal imaging and night vision on our mask, goggles and visor. That advantage was what enabled us to overwhelm them despite being outnumbered. Within a few seconds, most of the Cobra goons were down. 3 figures appeared on my visor. The night vision had a green tint to everything, but I could tell that one of those figures was massive. Mammoth, find out who is causing this and crush them. A deep voice from the one in the middle said. Mammoth grunted and took a few bounding steps into the dark, towards the last position he had heard of movement. Cobra was either very confident in his capabilities to split up with his main powerhouse or a fool. Superboy took a running leap and punched Mammoth out into the open night. A stream of moonlight shone through the hole in the factory, illuminating the surroundings. I stepped out into the light. The palm of my hand faced backwards as I gathered the air around it. Stand down, Cobra. We have you surrounded and trust me, we will take you down hard, if you fail to comply. The girl, Shimmer I think, stepped forward to stand between me and Cobra. How far has League fallen to allow mere children to do their dirty work? Robin, now. Let's see if you keep the same sentiment once we kick your ass. Birdarangs shot through the air as Shimmer's hand rose up. The Boy Wonders projectile dug themselves around Shimmer and the blast lifted her off her feet with a cry of pain. In the same motion, I pushed my hand out and an air bomb exploded outwards, sending an unsuspecting Cobra flying off to slam onto the walls of the building. Cobra fell to his knees with a grunt and raised his head only to find my fist heading straight for his face. The hood had come off and I saw a slight widening of his eyes. At the last minute he bent his head backwards and managed to evade my right hook, only to miss the chi-blocking strike aimed at his mid-ribs. The blow connected and his breathing became labored, his fingers swept out but a blast of wind blasted him onto the wall again. Coming down, I aimed for the chi points on all his limbs and Cobra slumped down, immobilized. Just then, a telepathic message came through our link. Mammoth is down. How are things on your end? Aqualad informed us. Cobra has been taken care of. Robin? I sent through an image of the bald and pale man. Robin chuckled. That's Cobra all right. Miss Martian has the rest of the underlings tied up. I'm currently copying everything they have in their systems. Then I'm scrubbing the whole thing. Kid Flash is with me. Robin reported. Wait, I can hear something. Superboy told us. It's a helicopter. The buyer? Wally asked. Highly possible. Let's regroup and lay an ambush. Miss Martian sneak into the helicopter once it lands and sabotage it. The rest of us will capture this mysterious buyer. Aqualad laid out the plan. I'll stay behind to make sure that Cobra and his cult don't escape their bindings. I told them and broke off contact. I looked at the man in question and saw his eyes watching me with hate. I don't like the look on your face. Something tells me you want nothing more than to skin me, so off to dreamland with you. You will pay for. A sphere of wind surrounded his head, cutting off his words and sucked out the oxygen around him. He suffocated and passed out. I didn't want him to break his bindings and have us repeat the same dance and song. Plus I had another reason. I closed my eyes and connected with the air. A small breeze swept through the whole factory. I used the wind to sense any movements throughout the building and smiled once I found out that the team had left. I was all alone with Cobra and his men. Gunfire started outside the factory and I knew I only had a few minutes at most. Despite being a good mercenary, I doubt Sportsmaster could handle 3 sidekicks and 2 superpowered aliens in a fight. I approached a crate with the new product that was riddled with bullets and opened it. Inside I saw the vials of cobra venom, most of which were destroyed. I nabbed 2 of the vials and placed them into my utility belt. I couldn't use them right now because I couldn't know what effect they would have when mixed with the blockbuster formula. After doing that, the team came back with a bound Sportsmaster. The mission was more than a success. The only problem was that Bane had escaped. This marks the end of Part 4 of the story, Avatar in DC Universe. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.